The audio here is stock. I'm running an ancient D104 straight into the front of the rig, doing it grandpa style. The only modifications to the transmitter are the high voltage rectifiers and the low voltage rectifier tube. They have all been replaced with solid state devices. I wouldn't be surprised if this rig had taken a trip through Howard Mills' shop at one time or another. This rig belonged to Dave Humbertson, W3NP, and it had been originally sold new to the state of Texas and ended up in the Cumberland, Maryland area, where Dave still lives just south of there in the West Virginia Panhandle. So anyway, Lewistown, east to west, it's roughly equidistant between Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. The nearest town of any note is State College. I am 25 miles southeast of Ware. And they stuck the university there to put it in the center of the state. So I'm way up here. I'm about 50 miles northwest of Harrisburg, the state capital. So yes, Paul, when I'm trying to hear someone on K1VL, I'll catch the tail end of my transmissions and me no like. Me no like. But I do have some other projects in the works here. I have a BC610 in the garage, and I've removed my Mustang from bay number 2 and stuck it in the pole barn. The BC610 is out there, and it's being demodularized so I can take it to the basement rec room, which is going to be no easy feat. So I'm going to turn it to WB2LYL. My name is Doug, location Lewistown, Pennsylvania, and please turn it to Paul, WA3VJB, and there were 2 other breakers in there. I heard W1WOR, and there was yet another breaker. So WB2LYL. And please turn it to Paul, WA3VJB. This is W3DBB listening.
Thought I'd drag my feet a little bit there. W3DBB, Doug, with WA3VJB.
Paul. Hi, Paul. Good morning.
With W1WOR on the side, I believe.
This is WB2LYL. Fine business, Doug. Great signal. Your 5x9 modulation's fine. Your voice is fine. You're not broadcast quality like Paul, but you're certainly 100% readable. You sound good. And the name here is Wayne, Whiskey Alpha Yankee November Echo, Wayne. And the QTH is Bloomsfield, New York. Bloomsfield. Ignore the QTH as listed on QRZ. I'm still trying to get that straightened out. At any rate, good to hear you on the air. I thought I'd come in. I was outside working and decided I was working up too much of a sweat. Thought I'd come in, cool down, and exercise my radio instead of my arms. So over to Paul, WA3VJB. With the group. This is WB2LYL.
Yeah, hey Wayne, good signal. I'll say that straight away and then kick it right over to Rob and then Tom in that order that I heard them check in. W1WOR, and you turn it to N3CXP. Tom in there. Good morning to all of you. WA3VJB. Go ahead, Rob.
All right, very good. Good, warm morning. First day of summer. Now the days are going to get shorter there, so fans are up and down a little bit there. Paul, I sent you an email there. The Swisher was back. He was up on 72, 71 this morning with a group of guys on sideband there. So It's like a mosquito buzzing around your ear. Just buzzing and buzzing around there. So, but you know, I went out a little early to go cut the grass, and I came back in, and we got 87 here with feeling like 91 with 56% of humidity there, and it is a difficult breathing out here today. So I says I'm a first responder, and I hear on the radio these people dropping like flies, even hydrated. So I says I'm going on into my 70s. I says it ain't worth it. So we're going to get some heavy storms here over this weekend, which we could use the rain, not like what's getting in Texas there. So Galveston there. So, but anyway, we can use what we got there. And I took my ear went to a different direction there, Paul. So I think I send it over to Tom. W1WR over to Tom if I got that right.
Yes, you did, I guess. Good morning, everybody. N3CXP. My name is Tom, and we're here in Allentown, PA. So, Paul, hello to you. I have in the list here, I couldn't hear everybody that well, W1WOR, WB2LYL, WA3VJB, and N3CXP. I think there may be one more, so I'm not going to make this a long transmission, and we'll pass it to whoever gets it next, so I can get this list down here. So yeah, 87 degrees here. Gosh, it was 68 this morning, but it warmed up quickly. I went to the gym early this morning. My wife had a doctor's appointment. I came back down here, and lo and behold, there was damn activity here. It's been a long time since I've been on the air. Paul, I haven't heard you since the last time I heard you, which is a long time ago. So let's see. I didn't pull up my log here, so I'm going to do that on the next go round. Somebody take it, and then I'll get my head on straight and see who's on this list here. N3CXP.
Yeah, I think I'll take it and then turn it over to Doug. There's somebody okay, top of the hour, WA3VJB Annapolis. And yeah, Doug had a good signal. Everybody did into Maryland. And Tom, I'm hearing you the weakest into the the K1VL Shrewsbury, Vermont node, but you're stronger here. You probably have that directional antenna pointed my way. I think I caught you one night, and I was just headed out the door, or conditions were deteriorating, or something had happened. But it was just a momentary hiya-baya situation, and it has been a while. I've been traveling. Got some family situations out of town that I had to get to, and will continue to get to, but we're also at home from time to time. And that's kind of why I've been off the air, except for these brief excursions. So that's the list I've got. I'm going to turn it over to DBB in just a minute. And then Rob, hello to you. It sounded like you might have had a open speaker on another receiver. I was hearing a little bit of chatter on the side. Maybe you were listening to public service or something, public safety. But I did hear something come in on you that I almost thought was some sort of interference. And yeah, I heard the squiggly, the springtime squiggly. And, it's funny because it's like a gnat. You know, one of those things that when it gets close to your ear, you hear it. And then, you know, you want to swat at your back of your head. It's not really an encumbrance to trying to hear somebody. It's just an annoyance, which is probably the idea if it's deliberate. And Wayne, as I said, you got a good signal from Bloomsfield, New York, and the hot weather that you've got come in. I haven't walked into the other room to see the screen for the outdoor monitor, their temperature monitor, but yeah, it's getting hot. Yesterday I was out for a while. We took a hike with the dogs, and I really noticed the heat. So it's going to be even worse in the days to come, and the static crashes will probably be up and everything else. And yeah, Doug, I got to say, you're a little harsh on yourself when it comes to your voice. You've actually got a pretty nice distribution of lows to highs with that 32V1. Aren't any particular exaggerations or deficits in there at all, so please don't feel as self-conscious as you think. There's the physiology of hearing yourself that sometimes creates a disconnect when you hear a recording of yourself. And that might be where you get a little critical of yourself. But you sound good, man. Here it comes. W3DBB, WA3VJB with the group.
WA1 Henry, now on.
Oh, good morning, TimTron. WB2LYL and the growing multitude. This is W3DBB Whiskey 3 Delta Bravo Bravo. For those who don't know me, my name is Doug, and I'm located near Lewistown, Pennsylvania, about 25 miles southeast of State College. So, oh, very good, Paul. Well, I'm a whole mass of self-conscious type stuff. So, I mean, why shouldn't I hate my voice? Kind of reminds me of a song by the Police. I hate the food I eat. When the world is running down, you make the best of what's still around. Anyway, 32 V2s. I think that's kind of a tendency they have, Paul, the fixed loading caps. They did it real nice on the V1. You have to lift a top lid. The transmitter has a top lid, and the selector switch for the fixed loading caps is mounted chassis topside, and you access it under that lid. And what they've done is they've set up a safety interlock switch there, so when you lift the lid, you kill the real voltage. So it makes hot switching those caps an impossibility. So I think they did have some trouble with the V2s, and then on the V3s, they finally got it right. With the front panel control, you couldn't hot switch the caps, and that made it possible to mount the things more easily in racks and to stack them up and all that good stuff. So anyway, let's see. Oh yeah, regarding the QRM, you know, Paul, I have heard the squiggly, and to me it was always sort of a howling mad Murdoch type of character. Or maybe an Admiral John Poindexter, not certain. But I've noticed of late, it's not Poindexter. I've noticed of late it has taken an extremely vicious and malicious turn, which I heard yesterday. I heard it yesterday, and it's like some real modern high-tech type jamming. Pretty bad stuff, and I think Tim knows exactly what I'm talking about. So, Tim, if you would, pick it up and turn it to Wayne. Turn it to Wayne. WB2LYL. It's a big group in here. So, WA1HLR and WB2LYL and W1WOR and N3CXP and WA3VJB. This is W3DBB. Over.
Okay, Doug, very good. W3DBB from WA1HLR. I may wind up switching over to the Viking 1.5. I don't know how well I'm being heard. This is my Viking 2 CDC. I've been playing around with another D10-4 microphonium setup, and I don't know how this thing sounds. I don't have what I would call a good off-air monitor in here. I got modulation monitors, but there's no room to mount them or have them in here. Yeah, just a note on the 32V versus the 32V2 and V3. Many, God knows how many years ago before the fire, I picked up a 32V2 for $40 that had an issue. The issue was basically one of those adjustable pattern capacitors, and the multiplier chain had shorted. So once I got that problem resolved, it worked. But I felt that the output was rather low. So I was looking at the way things were laid out. I think in the V2 and V3 it uses a pi L tank circuit. So I took a jumper wire and I shorted out the L inductor. and there was enough capacitance in the loading caps in order to load things up correctly, and the output came up noticeably. The other thing is, if you look at where that inductor is mounted, it's parallel to the plate RF choke. So in their thought to greatly limit harmonics and tear victimitis, all they're doing is coupling the VHF harmonics and tear victimitis right into the inductor, which goes right out to the antenna. So I would try jumper shorting the inductor out. I've got a very clean 32V2 one of these days I'm going to bring in and start working on, but God knows when that'll be. So as far as the squiggly is concerned, that's just a free running oscillator for industrial RF heating. The jamming, that's a totally different story. So go ahead there, Wayne. WB2LYL, I hear this thing from WA1HLR.
WA1HLR and the group. This is WB2LYL. Thanks, Tim. Good to hear you again. It's been a while. I haven't been on for quite a while. This absorption has just been ruining all my fun. But I thought I'd listen today and heard a bunch of guys on so far. So hopefully we can have a little QSO here before the absorption picks up again. Tim, I'm copying you 5x5. Tom, you're 5x7. Rob, you're 5x9. Paul, you're 4. And Doug, you're 5'9" as well. So copying everyone. And I heard the squiggly this morning as well. So, it is annoying, that's for sure. So, Tim, I think you must be on the G5RV. Usually I copy you better on the G5RV, but anyway, you're not as strong as you normally are. So I'm not sure. I guess who gets it next? Let's see. Let me go to Rob. I probably got this wrong, but I apologize, whoever's supposed to get it.
That's right.
W1WOR. Rob, this is WB2LYL.
All right, Whiskey 1 Whiskey Oscar Radio. Good morning, everyone. Yes, Wayne. Hello again. And I think I don't know if I've spoken to Tom there, but Doug and Tim there and Paul, I know. Yeah, we're getting busy here. Yes, Paul, that's my department's background radio going off there, and quite a few others. So a lot of things going on over here in the state. The DEEP is very busy out there in the state parks there, with people drinking and heat exertion and boaters and everything like that. Matter of fact, I got to make a call into headquarters in a couple of minutes, so I'm going to break away there. So otherwise, like I said, here is a couple of minutes we'll be talking. The temperature's already climbing up, so stay inside you can, stay hydrated, and that's about it there. So I don't know who's going to Paul there. I guess your net controller there, so I'll pass it around. I'll be in listening mode, but I'll be on the side of the phone there, so hope the bands hold out there. Everybody stay cool. W1WOR. Paul, tell me who to pass it to.
Let's have Tom have a turn at it, N3CXP. I wish you could stay in longer, Rob. Excellent signal, and you're part of this recording, too. Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, very good, Paul. And Alf, nice to hear you. We have worked before a couple of times. It's been a while. So, and hello to Tim. I've got the beam on today, and it's pointed at the I3VJB preset here. I've got a preset for Tim as well, but they're on opposite sides of the beam. So, and the long wire inverted L, everybody's doing much better actually on the horizontally polarized beam. So I'm going to leave it there. I don't know, the band must be long or I don't even know what it is, because it's not the greatest today. So and Paul, good on being away. Then yeah, we did briefly hear you the other night about a week or 10 days ago. Of course, I was kind of on the move myself, and it was late in the evening, so you know, not a problem at all. And we're going to be out of the country for 3 weeks. We'll leave on a trip on a Gate 1 river cruise next Wednesday. And we're going to be gone almost 21 days. We're going to cover a lot of ground. So we won't be on the air for some time. So, and that's why I don't know if you see Howard at all or talk to him. I hear him use the station once in a while here, but I heard he's got a boat for the summer on Chesapeake, so he and his son are sailing around somewhere down there and operating maritime mobile. So let's see. According to my list here, Doug gets it. So Doug, over to you in Lewistown. W3DBB from N3CXP Allentown.
Go ahead, Doug.
N3CXP, Allentown, and the group. This is W3DBB. Okay, I've been listening to the squiggly, and the squiggly actually seems to have some intelligence behind it. And it can be most annoying, I have found. Kind of makes me wonder what's going on up here. Between the squiggly and what was going on up here yesterday, it's pretty bad stuff. So I am going to turn it to Paul, which is probably wrong. I think I was turning it to Tim, but I think, Paul, you're in here somewhere, aren't you? Why don't you go ahead and straighten this out? This is W3DBB.
Well, since you started things with your CQ, Doug, I deferred to you when Tom handed it. I think that's where I was in the order, but I wanted you to have it, so I didn't particularly care and stopped out. And it's the same people who get their jollies with deliberate interference. But the impact of it these days is lessened by the use of a constellation of internet receivers. I mean, I can't remember a time I haven't been able to completely defeat an interfering source just by going around it to some other region that's hearing the station I wish to hear, but minimizes the station trying to jam. So I find it a very effective adjunct to my reception here. And especially since I'm kind of amidships between the northeastern states and the southeastern states. And I'm not sure where any of the interference might particularly come from, but it gives me a fairly wide range to be able to be heard as well as to hear by being so located. Hello, Timmy. Yeah, I was going to point out to Doug, too, that I think the V2 is where they went with the different configuration of capacitive settings. It has a top lid on the outer cabinet, but does not require any reach inside and change things in order to change band or loading selection. It's all front panel control. And then the V3 went to a solid cabinet that was perforated. There was no lid in the top. That was thought to be additionally impermeable to terror victim item. I have a V3 that a kid in college gave me. It's kind of like the $40 one. It had a broken linkage in the band switching, so it was only good for 75 and 40, which is primarily where I was anyway, so that worked. And I got it running as a backup transmitter to the 32V2 that I had since I was a novice, and then sent that down to my brother to get on the air at higher power. And very good, Doug, before you get out of there, on that being the ex-Dave Humbertson transmitter, W3NP, I was hoping he's still around. I haven't seen him in years. But mostly because I don't tour the Hamfest circuit anymore. But I used to see him at some of the Virginia Hamfests, like Manassas, and occasionally he would come up to West Friendship. for the Howard County Fairgrounds Hamfest. And of course, he used to be on with one of those great big Meissners. One of my favorite stories with Dave was him using an engine hoist to suspend that Meissner so he could work on it. I could have just picture him like working underneath the engine of a car, but in the form of a Meissner. God, that thing was an odd shape and tremendous bulk. But I haven't heard him on in probably close to 10 years. And I hope he's still doing well. I probably have an email address for him. I'll tell him we're talking about him here and see if we can inspire him to get back on. Tom, very good on your trip coming up. Take you out of Papa here for most of the time. Hope that's a good river cruise for you. I'm hearing reports from people who are traveling, both stateside and internationally, that this coronavirus is rearing its ugly head to a greater extent than it has been, but that people aren't caring as much about taking protective measures. So I will caution you, just that it's out there, and there's now less in the way of government subsidized testing for the better test kits than the ones you have at home, most of which are now expired. The ones that were handed out by the CDC are not only expired package date, but expired extended date. So the reliability of those is probably not as good as it was, especially if you didn't take care of the ambient temperature they were stored within. And Wayne, you didn't get much of a turn there. I don't have too much to comment, but nice to hear you on after a period of time you were off the air. Always a good signal from Bloomsfield, I seem to recall. And I share your concern there that Timmy's signal's not quite as strong as he usually, either into the K1VL node, which is like closer to his neighborhood, nor here at home. And thank you, Tom, for the southerly direction there. Since I'm listening primarily on the Vermont-based node, you can switch that north if it helps you with Timmy. I don't need that kind of favor right now because you're quite strong in either case. And Rob, I guess you're out of there, so I'll just say see you later for now, and glad you were in here. Got a nice recording of the setup if you hadn't already heard it, but good signal to noise ratio, and I'm on 90 and you were on 92, so I actually got a little bit more passband. The Kiwi is limited to 6 on a side, but since I was down 2, it actually extends out a little bit further for the recording's purposes. And I think you'll be pleased at what you hear. So, Doug, did you want to take a more complete turn at it and then kick it back to Wayne there, or Timmy? I think Timmy checked in right after your transmission, so if you wanted to complete a sequence there and turn it to Tim, that's fine by me. Otherwise, Timmy, pick it up. W3DBB. And the somewhat contracting group as 40 meters prepares for its midday nap. WA3VJB. Go ahead, Doug. Finish out.
W3DBB. Okay, Paul. Let's see. In no particular order. The broken linkage in the 32 V3s, I think that can happen to any or all of them, and that's kind of critical. It's the automatically adjusting grid circuit is a real marvel, I think, and really made these things state-of-the-art 75 years ago. But I kind of like that feature. It's pretty cool. Haven't had any trouble. Dave had put a lot of love into this rig, and he did some fixing up on it and owned it for many years. When I was down there, Paul, he was recovering from back surgery and doing really well. He's still climbing this tower out in the backyard there, but he was getting rid of the heavy irons, so he had the most beautiful T368 I've ever seen. He was asking $3,000. And the thing is the size of a fireplace, as you well know, and I just didn't feel like bringing that in. He also had a really nice 1939 style homebrew rig in a vertical rack, very nicely restored. The original build was very nice, and then Dave was really quite adept at getting things straightened out. He was asking $700 for that, and I should have bought it. Kicked myself for not buying that. But I did buy this rig and a heavily modified DX100. So he's doing fine, him and his wife, and I think life is good for Dave. He was working on a Viking 2 when I was there, I guess theory being that that's only 75 pounds instead of 100. And no sign of the big Meisner, but he did have a lot of equipment there in his basement. For what it's worth, department, I still see people wearing masks everywhere I go. And I'm out here in the boondocks, a very low population county out here, maybe 45,000 people. And they're, oh, the heat, yes, the heat and the engine hoist, they come together. I was out earlier this morning. We bought this property at the end of 2017, and the house was completely gutted, just about completely gutted and remodeled in the spring and winter of 2018. We've been in here since July 4th of 18. It's a 6-acre plus property, and it came with an immense cache of building materials, all manner of stuff, and it's actually out in a woodlot to the east of the house. And it's a bit of a trek, but this morning I went and got 4 of these large size concrete blocks, because I have a lineup of 8 of them on my garage floor in front of a BC 610, and I made up a harness to grab onto the bottom of the BC 610 power supply deck and pull it onto a dolly using an engine hoist. So lots of fun out there, and the thing is moving. I don't know what that power supply deck weighs, but it is a bear. It is moving on the slides. Once I get it on the dolly, I'm not really quite sure. I'll probably have to use to band it down, and then maybe lower it into the basement rec room down the stairs, down a half flight of stairs. Gingerly, WA1HLR in the group from W3DBB.
Okay, very good. W3DBB from WA1HLR. Yep, 40 meters is doing its fade thing. But that's just the way it is. And I'm using the Viking 2 CDC. It's not loaded very heavily. I'm seeing about 75 watts out. And I'm watching the scope be doped to make sure I don't grind it up too hard. Well, you know, here is going to be the same, you know, like 90-degree temperatures in the 90s. Very, very high, hot and pussy, humid WA high. It's supposed to cool down and piss rain, and probably they're saying, well, violent thunderstorms and all that. So there you go. You know, like I was saying, I was using a different D104 G stand. This G stand came from the estate of Peter, W1ZZZ, and it was in use with a 32V2 that Pete VZR had his hands into, and it had an issue, so I wound up working on it for Peter, and I took it the next level up with the audio improvements and all that, so the thing is almost a high fidelity transmitter. Well, when Peter passed away, you know, I was wondering what was going to become of it, and somebody worthwhile should get the thing. So Dan, W1DAN, who was managing the estate, offered it to me for the taking, so I received it, but the problem is I'm completely out of room here, pretty much. So I gave it to a very close friend of mine in the next town, Allen, KA1ZZC, who's going to be pressing it into service. Meanwhile, I kept the D104, but the G-stand just was not working right. It wasn't keying things up correctly, and I never tried it with the D104 head on it. So yesterday I decided to go down that rabbit hole, and it's a later model stand, and I took the thing apart, and rather than the push-to-talk and microphonium sorting switch and all that are up in the stock. This one, it's in the base where they have a push rod going down. Things are spring-loaded. It's a cheapening of the product. This being a Silver Eagle version. And I think Pete VZR had his hand into the preamp. The preamp on the base had an MPF 102 JFET in there, but the whole thing was disconnected. And the battery clip was, the battery connector for the 9-volt bat was missing. So upon further investigation, the microphonium output was wired directly through to the 2-pin Amphenol connector. So what I really wanted to do was to re-engage the JFET preamp, because the microphonium head I'm using, which is a ceramic head, I'd reversed the phase on for another purpose. And I have a number of D104s where I've had to reverse the phase, like when I'm using the FT101E up in the PUS bus. Anytime you wire up a D104 to an FT101 that's been dequalified, you have to flip the phase on the element, because the way it arrives from the factory, the phase is 180 out, and that makes a huge improvement. So anyway, I got the preamp that was in there was wired as a source follower. I wanted something with gain, as a source follower will not invert the phase, but a full-blown stage of gain coming off the brain will. So I went to change it. My God, what a pain in the throat working with a little slobbering iron and all that. And I spent a good chunk of the afternoon doing that. And I got it all together and tried it out, and there was hardly any level, and things just weren't working right. So I started ohming and taking voltage measurements. And it's like, I think the FET is gone anyway. So I started digging and digging and digging and digging. Finally, I found a little bubble pack from Radio Shack with a single MPF 102 in it. So I took that out and put that in, and now the thing is working great. All kinds of level, more level than should be, but it has some other issues that I believe I had corrected. So this morning, I woke up around 3 o'clock in the morning, couldn't get back to sleep, so I came out here, and I was thinking about what I needed to do, so now it's done. I'm going to do a comparison check. I'm going to put a plain Jane, or shall I say, a piezoelectric crystal head on standby and get this thing off.
So you're out of there, Doug?
Alright,
I don't know who that was, Paul.
crystal head, which probably is
They were referring to you.
so what y'all think. as far as my antenna...
No, I'm staying in. I didn't really understand the comment or hear it very clearly.
Paul
Go down to 72.
Okay.
7280. AJ1G is on the CXP.
and everybody due south.
Sounds like Chris is going to call you down to 80 there, Doug.
Changed.
Okay, and let me...
The other antenna I got set up that I could go to
W3DBB.
is the Evermore pump.
Okay, I'll explain your absence.
My pulpit with open wear line, which is a better antenna.
I may or may
New
not
England
return.
and
Thanks.
eastern New York State. Bus G5RV favors Wayne WB2LYL. So if I had to pick one antenna, I figured I would.
Standing by 7290.
Furthest away of anybody in here.
I just pulled Doug down.
And as for the jamming and all that, that's another story. WB2LYL from WA18 show you.
Hey, Chris, he's down on 80. Chris, he's down on 80.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, he moved down there.
No problem, W1WOR.
What's down on
You're wrong.
80?
I'll catch you again, Rob.
All right, now, Tim, what you call it, AJ1G wanted to talk to Doug, so they went down to 80. Continue.
All right.
Oh, is it my turn? WB2LYL.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, Tim. Thanks, everybody. I'm going to have to bow out of here anyway, but I thought I'd comment. Tim, your signal came up from a 5-7 to 10 over. After you did your frog imitation, it was amazing. So maybe you rattled the element of the microphone and your much stronger modulation. At any rate, that's my comment for today. Doug, Paul, Rob, Tom, Tim, good hearing you all on the air. I'm going to have to get out of here and get back to work. So 73s, everybody. This is Wayne in Bloomsfield, New York, saying 73.
All right, Wayne, catch you later. Yeah, the band's about to take a nap. So I'm going to head for the door here as well. And glad you checked in. Your absence was noticed when you returned. And yeah, Chris had checked in, Timmy, to, I thought, try to pull Doug down frequency. I heard him tuning up down there. So they're down there. You might be able to hear them better. Well, Tom's kind of coming and going. I'm going to toss it to you, Tom, and catch any concluding remarks. Rob, I thought you were out of there, but nice that you were able to help coordinate the activities here. N3CXP, if you're still in there, I'll listen out here for a while. WA3VJB.
Yeah, very good. My wife got home from her annual Medicare physical, and everything's fine and so on. I'm going to go up and check in with her as temperature climbs here and do something outside before they gets away from me. So we were talking the other night to Bruce Hildesheim. That's who we were talking to, and I had a real nice chat with him after you signed VE3LPR. Very interesting fella indeed, up there in Canada. Concert musician and holds several patents, and really interesting guy. So 73, Paul, we'll look for you again. Tim, 73 to you if you're hearing me. It's a weak situation here, and the band is going to sleep. So I'm just going to say 73, and go ahead, Paul, and take it. N3CXP.
Yeah, I know. I agree about Bruce. When he first got on, he had, I think, a DX100 that he was slaving over. And I gave him a little bit of encouragement just to, say that the payoff is there eventually, and it is, because he sounds great. But yeah, what an interesting guy. And that's right, he was on there. Quite a good signal, too, that night. Low-powered radio. I kept calling him LMR, like Land Mobile Radio. Somewhere in my head it got scrambled, and he caught me on it. So I'm trying to very deliberately remember it correctly. It's one of those mnemonics that you try to purge because it was a little too effective because it's wrong and it's like indelible ink. No. Anyway, yeah, go greet your wife there with congratulations on a good health report. somewhere along the way I had a blood panel done, and everything looks pretty good according to my GP, but I have to get an annual physical as well. One of those things. But everything otherwise is doing good, and I agree with Rob's concern there in the public safety aspect. Taking care of people who have not paid attention to the heat, and even with hydration are having problems, man. And Timmy, I heard the upper central part of the state of Maine was like dead center of where the heat is going to be. Talking about 98, maybe 100 degrees up there, man. Hope the AC is on max there to build up a little reserve when that starts to hotten things up. So yeah, Wayne's out of there, see you later. Tom's out of there, see you later. Rob's kind of on the edge. If you're going to pick it up, go ahead and take it. And Doug looks like he's still down frequency there on 80 with Chris AJ1G. So here it comes, Rob. I'm going to give it to you and see what happens, and look for you again. W1WOR. WA3VJB Annapolis, out of here for now.
Yeah, very good. Thank you. W1WR. Well, I all my life I worked in this kind of heat, but well, being retired 5 years, but you know, the air quality is very bad here. Well, it's 89 and it feels like 94 again there, and it's the humidity there. So guys have this thing about being Tarzan and beating on their chest. You know, I still can do it. I'm tough. I'm a guy. Well, you know what? That's when you find yourself laying on the floor in the hospital. So it's not worth it. I went out. I was gonna go cut the grass. I pushed the mower a little bit there, and I was out earlier. I said, that's it. I was finding it difficult to be breathing there a little bit there, so I said, no. I respond to this stuff and hear this on the radio. And all this heat in Westchester County there, Ardsley, New York there, Chase Manhattan had an armed robbery. So they're all out. The choppers are up in the air there. I'm tracking them now there. And so no, it's not worth it. And I got people I'm listening, talking on the radio, oh, I'm watering my lawn and it's dying. I said, you're wasting your water. You don't have enough water. Your lawn's going dormant. Just don't cut it. If you cut it high. Then we'll get this massive rain that's coming through for the whole weekend, and of course right on field day in this area. And I said, your lawn will come back. Your lawn will golf course. And I'm not one to water my lawn ever. It is what it is. And all right, everyone. Yeah, I'm on with my department back and forth there, so I'll go back into listening mode there, and I'll have to turn the radios down slightly a little bit more. But everyone, it's good hearing everybody's signals are good. Chris and I think Doug went down to 80 there, so I'll go back into listening mode. Paul, thank you for being there, and yeah, the mosquito around the ear. So I guess people have nothing better to do, and I could never understand it. You take all that time to study a license there and spend all that money on there, and you got to do stuff like that. W1WOR. You take it away, Paul.